Hi everyone, this is Dr. Bowen. This is our second lecture on virtue ethics, and this one's just going to wrap up a few things that you saw Marcus Aurelius discuss in the film Gladiator, as well as some new, more modern concepts regarding virtue ethics. So thinking about Marcus Aurelius, he gave us the four cardinal or chief virtues of virtue ethics. He's written about this in numerous papers and books. His book Meditations is probably the most famous. These cardinal virtues are the main principles that should guide a life of character. The first is wisdom. Why is wisdom important? Thinking back to deontology, we talked about wisdom as being based on reason, rational thinking, critical thinking, and objective rationality. So reason has something to do with wisdom, and wisdom has something to do with reason because it's not only lived experience, but it's thinking through those experiences with a rational, educated perspective. Reflexiveness is part of that, and this is why we see in the film Marcus Aurelius engaging in this thought late in his life, very close to his death, in fact. The second of the cardinal virtues that Marcus Aurelius talked about is justice. Justice is important in a social system. It's also important in a leader, and it's important in how we order our thoughts. We have to consider decisions in terms of fairness, in terms of what's just for all. So this is similar to the Kantian equality concept. In fact, all of this philosophy is similar to what we know of deontology. Kant actually based deontology on virtue ethics. He just sought to make it more applicable because that ancient philosophy wasn't quite so applicable to quick decision making and analytical frameworks. So virtue ethics, going back to what we saw discussed as the cardinal principles, the third was fortitude. Fortitude involves moral courage and in sticking to your principles. We have a great example of Nelson Mandela. Those who stick to their principles because it's right, regardless of what society says, what the law says, or what's popular at the time. That's an example of fortitude. And fortitude or forbearance is enduring, it's unchanging, it is being resolute in your moral principles. So you can see why you would want that characteristic in a leader. And then finally, temperance is the fourth of the cardinal virtues. Temperance is one that you may not be familiar with, but let's think about what it means. Again, going back to deontology, it's like we want someone to have moral autonomy and be objective. Temperance is someone who's not quick to react, someone who is fair-minded and objective, but they weigh decisions carefully and thoroughly, reflexively or reflectively over a long period of time using experience and hindsight. So it's similar to wisdom, but temperance shows us that justice is fair, it's applied equally to all, and that people are not quick to anger or act out of selfishness, revenge, greed, avarice, and so on. So if someone is temperate, that would be the best type of decision maker in this form of ethics. Now, modern times, we talk about these cardinal virtues, but we have also updated our thinking and our terminology when it comes to what virtues we would want in a leader of character. And that is, again, the main question of virtue ethics. What would a person of character do? So looking at chapter 40 from the Handbook of Public Relations that I published in 2010, you can see ethical leadership is in the middle of an organization. Examining the figure 40.1. Ethical leadership is at the center or the heart of an organization very purposefully. And some of the concepts around that are from virtue ethics. Authenticity is related to ethical leadership because it means being genuine, walking the talk, not just talking the talk, but acting with ethical rectitude and modeling ethical behavior authentically with genuineness, not just saying what people want to hear, but actually embodying and living those values makes a leader authentic. The other side, you can see consistency is important. Why is consistency important? Easy. We want to be able to know what we expect of leaders, of people, of organizations. And if they're ethically consistent over time, we begin to trust them more. So consistency is an important variable when it comes to virtue, because we want to know that leaders are going to do the right thing. And if they've done the right thing in the past, we'll think that they're more consistent in their ethical reasoning. And then, of course, you see management and the CEO at the top of the organization engaging with these values in an ongoing basis. That's why the arrow goes in 4 directions. And then finally, ethics and rhetoric used as a dialogue for discovering truth. At the bottom of the sphere, you will see ethics in an ongoing process of dialogue with the stakeholders and publics around an organization, including governments, regulators, media, interest groups, employees, activists, and so on. So this model holds for both internal and external publics, but this gives you an idea of how an organization or how a person can be virtuous. And in public relations, we think of virtue ethics as creating a role for public relations in society. How can it contribute to the ongoing dialogue that we call civic engagement or civic discourse? So that is the rhetoric of society and how things should work on an ongoing basis. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I wish you continued health, safety, luck, and success, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.